Hi, guys. Welcome to the Highly Favored Podcast. I am so excited because we're doing a fun recap episode because I have not been on my own podcast in so long. And I am thrilled that I have the beautiful Ashton to join me again to help co host this episode. I have not done this before. So thank you, Ashton, for joining me on this fun journey of one, going along with my crazy schemes, and also just being my friend. You're so beautiful and lovely. I love you.
My goodness, don't even. I love you so much. I'm so honored.
I was like, who'd be super fun to have on the podcast? And Ashton is one of those people. She just vibes with me super well. Whether we're in the car or on a podcast, we have the most fun.
Absolutely. As long as there's no cows.
Yes, yes. Let's before we jump in, because all things recap, like everything's fair game. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you and bugs.
Oh my goodness. I
That
was
way people
actually
can understand.
wondering
Yeah.
when you messaged me this morning, like, hey, do you want to do like a last minute podcast? I was like, oh yeah, and like maybe we'll like talk about like recap a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I think we're gonna talk about bugs. I think we are. I feel like that's the way that the conversation's gonna go today. So I'm here for it. Just
Yeah.
know like I'm like even if my mic is muted, I'm gonna be laughing maniacally.
That's totally fair. So for those who are listening, friendship is so strong and so supportive of each other. And Ashton is that for me in so many capacities. So I have to rib her just a little bit because she's just the most amazing person. Um, but Ashton has a deep phobia of bugs and insects. And so there was a few weeks ago, and we can actually talk about women's ministry too right after this.
Absolutely.
But we were heading to a women's ministry event and talk about supporting friends. We had some girlfriends who were running a race down in Farmington. And so we went down there to support them. We had signs in hand. I'm so proud of my Twilight theme sign. It was like you're impossibly fast and strong and had a picture of Edward Cullen. And we were just there. We're cheering on complete strangers. So thank you for going. We were stationed on one corner. And Ashton's like, we're fine here. And I'm like, girl, no one can see our signs. They just are like, we're too far away. So I make this poor woman cross the street with me to interact with complete strangers. But it was so fun. And then we got to cheer on our friends. So it was a great time.
It
But
was so far
after,
out of my comfort zone, but it was so worth it.
I was going to say, she's like, oh my gosh, what is Kim having me do? And I'm like, we need to cross the street. They can't see us. And I'm like, it's not beneficial unless they can see us. And so so that was part of the morning. And then we were headed to a women's ministry event where for the church that we attend in Ogden. And I was like, this is awesome. Let's go stop and get a little fizz drink because when in Utah, if you're not listening and you're not a Utahn, we love a soda shop here. We love our little bevies. And so we went to Fizz to grab a drink. Fizz, please sponsor me. I talk about you religiously, please. Come on now. Um, so we stopped there, and as we're pulling up, and again, focus on women's ministry event, getting a beverage, about to glorify the Lord. And we pull up, and Ashton goes, "No, there is a bug." And I'm parked right across from a truck, and I see, and y'all, there was a bug with like armor. He had some weaponry. He's seen some things,
And the
and
antenna,
oh,
freaking giant antenna that was like as long as his body.
and I'm as it was he had some defensive skills. Like he was ready to fight for evolution. Like his bloodline was going to last. And I was of the mindset like let leave him be and he'll leave us be, right? But you're like making direct eye contact with him. And in the most loving way, I think that's the mistake that we made is he knew that we were talking about him. And so we leave, go into the fizz, and come back to walk out. We're walking out, and Ashton immediately goes, he's gone. The bug is gone. And I'm not registering that it's because the truck has left the parking lot. I'm thinking we got old Eagle Eyes over here, like scouting the bug from like yards away. And I'm like, girl, you need to join the Air Force. Like, dang. And she's like, the truck's gone. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense. So we're going along our merry way. And this baffles me because of his proximity to us in the situation, which we'll get to in a second. I'm so surprised you didn't see him. I feel like you noticed that so well. But so we go into my car, we pull up to our church, and um our church is in Ogden, and Ogden has like so crime rates. And so just for some background there. So this is where my mind is heading to as a veteran. But I'm in my car, like in a dress, I think, or I'm in some kind of outfit. I'm trying to get my stuff out to be, like Miss Philippines for this ministry event.
You were in the dress that had like the really high slit too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was ready to karate chop someone. Just kidding. So, but I was in my car, like back to this situation, which is not ideal for anything. And all of a sudden I hear Ashton scream, like high pitched, we're gonna die scream. And I'm about to take my crown from Continental Worldwide and shank someone, like just arm whip around. I'm ready to defend us, right? And I think she says something along the lines of like, he's here. He followed us, which also in hindsight doesn't make the situation any better. Because I'm like, what man has followed us? It was the bug. The rhino bug was like on my passenger, my side mirror.
It was on the mirror cap, just like perched right on top.
He wanted to join us. He wanted to be a part of our lives. And so we closed the door, let him be. And by the time we came out of the ministry event, he was gone. Bless it. Bless it.
Kim did like a full like 360 walk around of the car because I was like freaking out inside. And now that I've had time to think about it, I'm like, how could that bug have gotten from the car in front of us to our car? And here's my theory. Okay.
Oh, this is new. This is new to the plot.
This is new. I've been debating this. I think that either he jumped because we were hood to hood with, I think it was a truck. Yeah. We were hood to hood and so it jumped. Like... Yeah. Crawled under, or the guy who had the truck put him there because he's like, I don't want that coming home with me. Okay.
I think the jumping is more likely. Let me transfer.
I don't know. These are my two theories. The theories converge at this point, okay? Doesn't matter how the bug got there, but it got there.
Gotcha.
I think it crawled into the grill, okay, while we were driving. While we were driving over to the church, it crawled out, crawled along the bumper, went up the fender, went onto the mirror cap, and I was on my phone. I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was like looking up something for you. And so I didn't notice that it was perched on the side mirror cap. Either that or it was behind the mirror and it didn't crawl up until it knew like the perfect moment for maximum traumatization. Okay.
I feel like if it did crawl out, it's like the car has stopped and I'm less likely to like be blown away from the wind.
No, this is a ninja bug. This is a ninja bug with like so much malice.
He's like, let me create as much trauma and chaos as humanly possible in this situation. It was that was such a key defining moment of our friendship. I was like, girl, you're scared of bugs. I didn't quite like I understood it but didn't quite understand it, and that's when I was just like, we gotta talk about your intensity of screams and like warning a girl because I was ready to fight for our lives right there. But against like a human predator, not like a bug.
It was a really freaky looking bug though.
It was I will give you that. He was, when I told you like he was ready, like he was ready to defend his bloodline. He's like, I'm not getting eaten today. No birds, no humans. We're gonna terrify you a little bit.
He's like, I'm gonna scare you before you scare me. See, people always go like, oh, the bug or the spider is like more scared of you than you are of it. And I'm like, no, it's not. You don't know my situation.
I saw something last night that I ended up sharing on my Instagram stories, but it talked about how spiders, like, you're going to hate this so much, but spiders, apparently, they keep track of your schedule.
Yes, I saw that.
But the good news, though, is because they just want to stay out of your way. They're like, hey, we'll coexist together. So when you come across one, can you imagine that poor spider is like, Jimmy, it's 9 a.m. Why are you here?
Secret Life of Arietti
Oh
much?
no, shoot. Hold on. What is that?
But
Yeah,
like Secret
I love
Life of
it.
Arietti much? Like, oh, we gotta watch out for the big people. But I would much rather have Arietti and her family than spiders like crawl. Ugh. No, can't say it. Goodbye.
And
Goodbye thought.
on that note, why? So we were at our church for women's ministry. Let's chat about all things women's ministry. That sounds like so much fun.
It does sound like fun. Do you want to talk about, I mean, because you were the one that introduced me to it. You went and then you were like, hey, Ashton, Abby, Kaylin, let's all go together.
Yeah. So some background. We all became friends through a Bible study small group through another church in our community, which is fun because I think we talked about it in our last podcast episode, but we're all military affiliated and Christians in a community that is largely Church of Latter-day Saints. And so because we don't follow that, I think we have like a really special and unique bond and relationship because we're all trying to like find each other. And so Kaylin really spearheaded this small group. We all became friends through it. And then over time, the church community that we're part of, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think it was growing to an extent that didn't really fit what we were kind of looking for. And so that combined with last year I was dating someone, so I went to his church for a little bit, did not like that at all. And then tried a couple other churches and just wasn't finding the right fit. And then my friend Sam, shout out to Sam, she's so pretty. We love her.
Love Sam so much.
She's just like, hey, she and I became friends. So also, if you don't know me, you're going to. I'm like very big on, hey, finding friends as adults is hard. So I get extremely extroverted about friendships and I'm like, we should be friends. And that's how I met Sam. We met at work and I was like, she's so fun and so sweet and I love her outfits. And I literally messaged her on Teams one day and I'm like, I would like to be friends with you. And that's how our friendship started. And so she's like, girl, I stalked you on Instagram and you're a Christian. And she's like, I go to this church. And
You disappeared for a second. Said actual recording is higher quality if like you hover over your face. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
friends, and she's like, hey, I go to this church in Ogden. I've been going there for several years. And I've been meaning to go with her. And like literally the first and second visits I went, I was like, oh, I like this a lot. I went to a particular service, which our kind of group now all goes to, but it was just small enough where I felt you could like actually talk to people. And if you wanted to meet others, you were going to do so. And that's been like my biggest challenge when finding church communities is this idea of like, the church communities just get so big that you can't interact with people and you can't build stuff. And I'm such a big proponent of if you want to see a change in your church, you better be driving that change yourself. You better be volunteering, committing your time, all that. And I was trying to in the last church community we were in, and I really felt that it wasn't that I was getting like a stiff arm. It was just like, hey, we're so saturated with renovations and this and this and this that I was like presenting ideas for military ministry and women's conference and things that I was more than happy to take on. And they were just like, couldn't meet me there. And so moving to this other church, I quickly realized like, oh, this is such a great space. And I loved the preaching. I loved the size of it. The worship was just right. I usually have critiques on certain things. And it's not perfect, but I was like, I feel like this is a church we could really grow in. And so I went and then was going consistently with Sam for probably a few months. And then I was like, hey, I talked to Abby and Will, our friends, one night, and I was like, hey, are you guys open to checking out another church? I really like their preaching style. I like the size, all this other stuff. So Abby and Will came over, and then we started inviting everybody else. And then I think slowly, like, everybody kind of transitioned over to, not everybody, but like a large part of our small group transitioned over. And it's just been fun to kind of like explore it with this group that means so much to me. And in turn, they have a women's ministry that meets like the second Saturday, or I can't remember what Saturday of every month.
Usually it's the second Saturday of every month, but I think with the summer, they're changing things
Yeah.
around a bit.
So the women's ministry was meeting, and I'm like, we should like go check it out. Like, you know, I'm not saying we have to get involved yet, but like, let's go check it out. And definitely feel that that group of women are on fire for God. They want to learn more. They want to absorb the word. They want to really build a relationship with Christ, which is really special. And so it started off there. And one of the leads of that women's ministry is Susan, who is like amazing and lovely. And talk about one of the things that I really look for in church communities, which I need to embody myself though, is how welcoming they are to people and just like how much they want to get to know you as a person. And she is that wholeheartedly. I feel like she's like incredible about making you feel seen and heard and included. And so we started there. And that weekend, the bug trauma weekend, she had invited me to speak because of the podcast and my pageant experience. And she's just like, hey, do you want to come and discuss? And so I was praying on it. During that time, we were kind of transitioning between books of the Bible. So we were doing this theme on identity. And if you know me, I don't actually like thematic preaching at all. But I was praying on it. And God was like, why don't you talk about with identity, like comparison? So I talked about Leah and Rachel. I said Leah and Rachel in the Bible. And just like finding sisterhood and comparison. And I had so much fun. It was such an honor to be able to speak to this group of women and to glorify God and to go into a message that I think can be so challenging in a world of like social media and also I just saw this from Barstool Sports, which I'm not surprised at all, but Utah has the highest rate per capita of any type of cosmetic procedure. So usually any type of plastic surgery. And so like it's very prevalent here, aesthetics and perception it's huge here. And so it was really kind of an honor to be able to speak on like how debilitating that can be to women in terms of like following your call to God versus being distracted by something that's really not of him because you're stuck in comparison. And we had so I was like I was kind of like making this interim like workbook, and we had questions and we had this group dynamics and it was just awesome. And I think that was not like the first step, but I think just like I so appreciated the support from like our friendship group and being there and cheering me on. Not just that too, I also work with Planning Roots, and all these women from around the world who are military affiliated were cheering me on with that. But I think too, it helped like kind of inspire like you and Abby and so many other people in our group. Like I think hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn though, that like we feel empowered in this community to like be in ministry and to help and to be part of a community. Whereas in other ones, I felt like it was just like unnecessarily delayed. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the right fit. What are your thoughts?
No, I remember sitting there hearing you, and you were just so engaging, and you put so much work and effort, and you were very, oh, how do I say this? Like, we're all touched by God, but it felt like the Holy Spirit was really just in that room. He was like covering you, and there was so much engagement and community happening in that room. And I don't think I would have been so gung ho about doing this project that we're now doing with Abby on prayer as I would have been if I hadn't been in that room and heard you. Like, you very much inspired me and made me feel like, oh my gosh, like I think I could actually do this.
100%
Like,
you can.
not through my own power, but through Christ. Like, if the Holy Spirit does not want me to say something, he is going to stop me from saying something. like we've only just, I don't know, maybe like 95% done with week 1, and everything's just like sliding into place so well. So not easily, but like seamlessly, if that makes sense. And it's just like I just would not be here if it wasn't for you and inspiring me.
You're so sweet. I 100% think that you'd be here even without me. Like, I think the cool part about how God works though is like, it's just fun. It's fun to recap like how we went from one geographic area to a completely different, not like completely different, it's all in Ogden, but but you know what I mean? Like moving to
Right.
a different church community. And and it's just fun too because like your church community is so intimate because these are the people when you are struggling with either life or doubt or any of these things, these are the people that you pour into and they pour into you. And so like it is a deeply personal community, and there's people who face very real like church hurt from dynamics that did not go well. And so I think it's so cool to be like, hey, Sam had a conversation and invited me to the church, and I started going for a while. And I also, it's not like a restaurant recommendation, but at the same time, you know, like when you recommend anything and you're like, I need these people to like it like as much as I do. So like you wait. Like I was waiting for several months to be like, okay, now I want to invite my friends, because anything that I would be critical of that I didn't think like, okay, is this a critique in which I can pour back into, and like if I'm going to be critical, or am I volunteering to fix it? Am I offering my services? Like yes, these were areas where I'm like I can absolutely offer and see what their thoughts are. And so to have like my friends come over and want to be a part of this and want to like glorify God in really cool ministries and unique ways, like I think it's just fun to see it. But I totally believe that God would have led you, if it's not this church community, it was going to be another one. We're going to be like, yep, we're gonna speak to people. We're going to expound on this. Like it's just been cool. I think it's really cool to see like, because it's not a church plant, but it's like a ministry plant, and I think it's super fun. And I
Yeah, it makes me really excited for whenever Daniel and I end up moving back to Alaska and settling
we're
down
talking
roots.
about that,
Like,
huh? Cute.
oh, yes, yes. Awkward sled transition. But it makes me really excited for like whenever it ends up happening. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's
Yeah.
next year, that I'm actually like, I'm gonna want to get involved in women's ministry, or maybe I don't know, like lead a
Yeah.
small group, or like take a page from Kaylin's book and lead like a military affiliated women's
Hmm.
small group. I just don't know, but I really feel like God's put it on my heart to be
Yeah.
engaged, because that wasn't ever something that I wanted to do, especially, you know, middle school, high school. Like I was so insecure. But now I like it's I just really want to
I
do
love
it.
that. And I think too that our past
Yeah.
experiences can really feed into, they really build not just testimony building, but build how we interact with people. Because I think too, in a sense, like you're talking about middle school, high school, and you a younger version of yourself, and how you're like, oh, I felt insecure. But I think then you see people when you welcome them into your home. You're like, hi, I'm Ashton. Welcome. Like, how can I make you feel comfortable and seen here? I think that's really special. I think that's something that God like plants in you to be like, okay, this is how people who are reluctant or need to, or might have to, or might be going into an environment by themselves, this is how they can be seen. And so I think that you're a gift, and I think God pours into you in really specific ways. And I also think our friendship circle, like every single woman presents these different qualities. And it's like I had a similar experience in Korea where, again, vastly different women, but together, like it's just so intentional from God to be like, together though, like this is how we're gonna move them, like a little like Power Ranger package, sending them forward to like fight this fight. And I think it's super cool that when you don't have to do this alone, because God wants us in community, and I think it's really beautiful. But also, when you're in the Word, when you're a follower of Christ, you're going to face spiritual warfare. And that's another thing where, like, you're fighting alongside your sister and in prayer, and you're equipping yourself in the armor of God so that you're not having to do this by yourself. And I think it's really powerful. And speaking of which, so Ashton talked about it a bit, but we're actually moving into like a prayer study with the women's ministry. And I've been able to work a little bit on it, but Ashton and Abby have really been spearheading it. It's just super exciting. And I know for me, when people talk about prayer today, it can be kind of frustrating, especially if it's coming from like a secular lens. Because I think people like to be like thoughts and prayers and they really diminish it, but y'all are underestimating how people pray. And it's not a flippant, like, feel good phrase. Like, there's people who, like, prayer warriors, you don't, like, God will move mountains. It's not, I don't know. I think that we treat it as, like, something of doubt and something that, like, a nicety that you say versus, like, no, it's a weapon. It's a powerful tool in your faith, like, arsenal, and it also like furthers one's relationship with God. So do you want to talk more about like this process of working on this prayer study?
Sure, yeah. Actually this morning, I was just scrolling through TikTok, as
As one
one
does.
does. Somehow I have been seeing a lot of um like former New Age witches, a lot of ex-Satanists, um, who have family that pray and are, devout Christians. Um, this one gentleman was the leader of the Satanic Church in, I think, South
Mm-hmm.
Africa. And he talked about how his mom and his dad and a bunch of their friends and family were praying for him for 4 years. Like his mom would write down his
Yeah.
name in her
Yeah.
Bible in certain verses and then like pray that scripture over him. Um, so I just wanted to touch on that and like now, he's this devout Christian and he uses that testimony. But like even I mean, I doubted prayer. Like I doubted its effectiveness for so long. Um, and it's only, I don't know, within like the last year that it's really been like this is not just like a comfort sentence. Like, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Like, I'm gonna pray for you. No, it's it's so much more and it's so much more powerful than just that. It's the way that we communicate with God. It's the way that we build our relationship
Right.
with him. It's we can pray in so many different ways. You can pray scripture over someone. That's powerful. You can pray for yourself. It never says like don't pray for yourself because God wants to hear the things that you're
Yeah.
going through. You can pray for other people. You can pray for your leaders in your county, your town, your state, your country. In you can pray for all of those people. You can pray for the leaders in your church. You should definitely pray for your enemies. Like I don't consider her my enemy, but I had a friend who really broke
Yeah.
my heart a couple years ago, and it has been hard to pray for her. But I'm trying. I'm trying to get to that place where I can just do it with a
Yeah.
joyful heart rather than a
Yeah.
reluctant heart. And I'm still working on it, and it's not like it's going to happen overnight unless God just like puts a
Mm-hmm.
180 on me. But there definitely is like work that we have to do. It's just prayer. It gets hard to speak about just because there's so much to it, and I'm learning so much. If you've ever seen the movie War Room,
Yes.
oh
Love it.
my goodness, that's a big inspiration for a lot of what we're doing with this study is the movie War Room. But okay, really, not everyone does have an extra room in their
Mm-hmm.
house, you know? Um, so what might be a little bit more approachable is a word
Yeah.
journal or a war
Mm-hmm. War
book or
binders.
war binders, a war set of note cards. It's Abby showed me hers and she told me about her husband
I
Will's
love that so
and
much.
it really It's so
Yeah.
cool. And she really introduced me to this idea, like, that it's something we can do and we can build, and we don't need to have like an extra room in the house. And it's also nice because it's something you can take everywhere if you want, you know? And so did a little Hobby Lobby
Of
run.
course. We love a Hobby Lobby.
Of course, I love Hobby Lobby. And I got a cute little binder. I got pages to put in it, got some pretty construction paper, made my own little dividers out of that, which that was some work, but I was really enjoying it, and I got to spend some quality time with God while I was doing it. So that was good for me. Maybe it's not good for you or for anyone else listening to the podcast, but it was something that I was like, this is getting me into my word journal. This is helping me be passionate about it. You know, people are always like, you don't need like fancy Bible study things. You don't need the fun pens or the highlighters. And it's like, no, you don't need them. But sometimes they help. You know, if it helps you get in your Bible, if it helps you get in your word journal, if it helps you pray and communicate with God, and it cuts out that barrier, why not use it? If you have the resources and the funds, why would you not take advantage of that
There's
resource?
Yuri. Her kitty
Yeah,
cat.
her little feather
So
duster
pretty.
tail.
She's so cute.
She's trying to get into the cabinet with the
Oh,
treats,
she's like,
which she knows she's not allowed
she's
to.
like, you're distracted. Let me try this. I would.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that point though too. I think it's like it's twofold. It's so like. I think in terms of those who are perfectionists, it's like it does not have to look perfect in order to get and start. So there's that. But on the other side, it's like, hey, God has made you a creative soul or someone who gets fed like dopamine with like feeling good about this
Yeah.
relationship with Christ. And just like any relationship, it can be fun and it can be entertaining and it can be a source of like hope and truth and light and just goodness. So like yeah, if you like some stickers in your war binder, war journal, war note cards, or you know, like some fun color pens or washi tape or whatever, have fun with it. But bottom line is don't let this pursuit of perfection ruin what's good. That's the bottom line.
Exactly. Like, don't let it stop you. Like, if your handwriting isn't perfect, if you can't find the right color that is just, this is gonna make it perfect. Honey, no, it's not. Like,
Also
we
yeah,
live in a broken world. There's nothing absolutely perfect in this
exactly.
world. We can give as good as we have, and God knows the intention behind
I
it.
love that. Give as good as we
He
have.
knows the intentions of your heart.
I want to put that in my house.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
It
It's a
is.
good one.
I think it's so important because God just wants you to show up. Like that, I think even from a secular lens, show up. Just follow through. That's all what we need to do. And I think that we have so many distractions today that even it's not as simple as we make it sound to just show up for things. And I think that's like super important. I did just if you don't mind me asking, as a quick recap, like you don't have to do a super deep dive, but like how's your war binder broken up? Like what are the main sections in case somebody's just like, oh hey, I'm kind of interested in this idea, you can come to our prayer study. But just in case someone's just like, oh hey, like so we mentioned War Room. That's it's a movie. Also, there's an accompanying book, and Priscilla Shire, she's an amazing women's ministry leader too. She kind of spearheads that. But how is your war binder? Like, what are the big sections of it?
Yeah, so it's really personal for everyone. You can really do it any way that makes sense to you. The way I have it right now is so I have I have my prayer section. I have scripture, quotes, affirmation section, and then I have like an extra section that I don't know what I'm gonna do with yet, but it's there in case I need it, or God tells me, hey, we're gonna use this, and I'll be like, okay. So right now I have a different page for every person I'm praying for. I have a dedicated page for I have my salvation page. So that's people I'm actively praying for salvation. And it's super cute. It's this little like flip part of it. So like, oh, it's flipped over. I can't see this part of the page, but oh, if I open it, it's like a baby book. Like where like you
Little
just like
peekaboo
open the little
surprise.
tabs and there's like a peekaboo surprise and there's a little joyfulness underneath there. And actually Abby helped me with this, but wrote out like, okay, if I'm praying for salvation for these people, what exactly am I praying for? So
Love the intentionality.
you know, that someone, yes, me too. Oh my goodness. I love it so much. So it's like, okay, I'm praying that their hearts will be open to the gospel. I'm praying that if not me, then someone will help plant this seed. I'm praying that God works in his mysterious, wonderful ways and brings these people to him because I love and care for them
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
much that I really, I want to see them in heaven, you know? Some of them are friends, some of them are family members, some of them I don't know. But yeah, so that's probably my favorite page that I
I
did.
love that so much.
Yeah. So I have my salvation page. I have a page for my husband. I have a page for my brother. I have a page for you and Kaylin and Abby
I love it.
and a bunch of other people that I'm actively praying for. Even if I'm like, I only have one prayer request on that page, I'm like, I want to have this entire page full. And then I know one thing Abby does. Fury, move out of the way.
I am living for her there. I'm like, oh, hey, kitty cat. Love her. So cute.
She's like, she's trying to perch on my keyboard, which is what she does when she wants attention.
She's like, we're going to stop what you're doing so you can pay attention to me. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Abby.
Oh, yeah, Abby. Yes. So, you know, I just want to be really intentional. Sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. Yes. One thing Abby does is she circles each thing that she prays for every single time that she prays for it.
I like it.
It gets a little messy for me because when I have too much going on, I get really anxious. So I don't do that part. But if that's something that works for you, great. The other thing that she does, which is something that I do, is when the prayer gets answered, whether it's a yes, it's a no, whether we're just kind of waiting on it. The waiting is a little bit more like, I'm just going to like keep praying for this and keep persevering in the prayer for this. So I don't really do that one, but a yes or a no, I'll write the day and I'll write yes or no, that I get that answered. And she just sat on my mouse, almost clicked.
I know, wouldn't that be funny? And I'm like, and that was God. Okay.
And that was
He's
God.
like, and we're done for today. Just kidding.
Yes.
No, I love that. And going back to kind of what we were originally talking about, this is what we mean with the intentionality and the strategy of prayer is that it's not this flippant phrase that you say when you don't know what appropriate response to provide. Like, our friendship group, and hopefully this women's ministry, and not saying that they're not strong prayer warriors. I have no doubt that the church we go to has some fervent prayer warriors. So, but I want to dig, I want to learn from those women, and I want those women to pour it back into community. And I also want women who maybe are newer to the faith or maybe haven't explored this aspect because they believe in like prayer is more of a thoughts and prayers kind of expression. And I'm like, no, girl, you're not. We're about to like revolutionize your life and this aspect of your faith because it's like, this is going to sound silly. Well, the bottom line before I go on a tangent is that I love that we have an end date because it shows like it came true. Like it happened. God fulfilled what we had been praying for. So that is so important. I think it's good because then you can look back and be like, look at what we've accomplished in glorifying God. Look, here's how God, our loving Father, has seen us and like met us where we're at. So I love that. But I
mean, and you can take this out if you want to, but there were definitely prayers that I prayed for you and for one or two of your exes. I was like, God, if this is meant to be, please let this happen. Let this be smooth. Make your appearance
we're keeping
known.
this in here.
And
this is staying in. I have too.
And for those, he said no. And so, and I wrote those down and I was like, okay, I'm going to keep praying for the guy that really is.
Oh, thank you. Love you. I'm obsessed with you.
Thank you.
But women and circles of women are so powerful, especially, not just especially, but I'm sorry, I'm coming from a Christian lens, especially circles of Christian women. I have friends all around the world. Thank you, military. Thank you, Air Force, who, yo, they're my Ashtons in all these different geographic areas who are praying for me. Like we can make jokes about it, but 100%. There's like this trending sound on social media right now, and I can't remember the basis song of it, but the ending is like Reese's Puffs, and the whole dynamic is where you got an older woman being paired with a younger guy. Literally have sisters in Christ who are like, we're gonna get you an F1 driver, we're gonna get you a hockey player, and I'm like, y'all are praying fervently, and I'm over here like, I want a godly man. I want him to be kind. But my sisters in Christ are like, she has hit a point and we're going to ask for everything and see what God brings.
Are you talking about the one that goes Reese's
Yes!
Puffs, Reese's Puffs, eat 'em up, and at the same time there's like I am in misery at the same time?
I think so.
Girl.
So I'll have to send you the audio because it ends with the Reese's Puffs one, and it's literally like it starts off with someone being like, "Oh, I'm a woman in my 30s, thinking I'm gonna find a man in my 30s, like 40s," and then it switches to the Reese's Puffs audio, and it's like a guy in his early 20s, and I'm like, it's the funniest switch. But I have so many girlfriends who've sent it to me. There's one with an F1 driver, and this dynamic between him and his girlfriend is so funny. And again, she's she's like my age, and then he's younger. And but the intent isn't Reese's Puffs. The intent is that my girlfriends see me. They know that, like, they've seen heartbreak. They've seen, like, hey, the desires of my heart, like this. This is this. But they also fully understand that, like, I find so much encouragement from Tara Cobble. Tara Cobble, I want to be your friend so badly. But I find so much encouragement from her because in her singleness, like, it's so intentional and so purposeful, and she has glorified the kingdom. When she does not she's so accountable, like, love it. But there's just points where she's just like, this is a distraction. I am here because God might come back any day. Like, what have I done to glorify him? And what have I done to, make sure that my heart is in a good posture and my soul is in a good posture where I'm like, yeah, I'm in a relationship with God. And so I think that's where I strike a balance now is that, and the beauty of that is your friends can pray for you as you're wrestling with things, as you're navigating stuff. And yes, they're sending me funny TikToks and reels and everything, which is life. That's like the beauty of friendship, right? Is that they know and we can joke about this stuff. But the truth in that too is that, like, yeah, I'm at a point in my life where sometimes when I'm like, I got to put my arms down, I'm really tired of trying to pursue this dream and goal, and I really don't understand why God has, like, led me in certain directions. And my friends are like, we've got you. We're going to pray and we're going to hold your arms up for you. And I think that is one, the beauty of Christianity, community, Christian friendship, prayer, all of these things. And I also just, like, love that you have pages for people in your Bible, and that, like, and then and our different not friendship groups, but different friends within our group, they're circling how many times they prayed. They've written things. They've got dates when things are like, oh, it's so beautiful. Like, this is, I think that our friendship group, and I'm hoping to, bring that into this women's ministry, into this community that we're part of, like Christian circles and Christian community. Even if you're secular, community is so dang important. It goes back to the highly favored, my whole premise of my platform, but community is so important because you're not meant to do life alone. We're, as human beings, we're not meant to. And just hearing, like, how you love people well, how Abby loves people well. I just love you guys. And I think it's like,
I just love you too.
I feel so incredibly blessed because I feel like every time I prayed I'm going to get, like, emotional. Every time I prayed to God for friendships, like, God just really shows up. And I think it's, like, so amazing because I just think, like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I'm pretty sure I have a war binder, but I also have been building. Georgia Williams inspired me with doing prayer cards on the walls for friends. And it's like every single time you pray, you put up a prayer card. And I don't know how frequently she takes them down. She's amazing. Go look her up on Instagram. Georgia Williams. I'm pretty sure that's her new last name. She recently got married, but talk about, again, a prayer warrior too. But she Yeah, she's the one, if you've ever seen it in Christian circles, she has entire prayer closets of like, 4x5, 4x6, I'm making up numbers, 4x6 note cards. I was like, that's not normal. A 4x6 note card. And yeah, and just different colored pens or whatever. She's writing prayers for all of her friends. And when she takes them down, she's got them on like a binder ring. And again, similarly, where she's writing if things were met, if like prayers were answered, or if she's repeatedly having to write out the same note card. But it's powerful. It's powerful to have the stack of note cards where everyone's just like, hey, you have the intercessory prayer of your friends. And I know this was a recap episode. We're going long, guys, because prayer is important.
I mean, our last episode was what?
I know
2
we won't go.
So I think we're
we
gonna
won't
hit
go.
that again.
We won't go 2 hours. We'll bring it around town. I promise. But
I
I say that out. I'm like, all right. But bottom line is that, like, one of the aspects of our life, though, is this women's ministry. We're starting this incredible prayer study, which I'm so excited about. Like, if you're a Christian floundering in the wilderness, try your best to find church community. If you are near Hill Air Force Base or, Ogden adjacent or northern Utah, if you want to come visit our church, it's called the Genesis Project. We'd love to have you. I think that there's so much, not even like the church in itself is awesome. And I don't want this to come off any kind of way of like, oh, there's potential here, but like, come join us. Like, there's potential for you to really build into ministry, to find your community there. Our group of friends is there, and it's been really awesome. And we just know how challenging finding church communities can be in a loving way. And we're here for you. So come visit, come join us. We love it.
Yes, please, please, please. We could always use more friends.
Yeah, totally. And I also think too that there's a real drive and heart and desire to bring more like families and younger generations into that church. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Even just talking with the women's director, there is such a heart and such a drive to bring in like 20 to 40-year-old families or just singles or couples. It's, oh my goodness. It's so desired.
Absolutely. So come join us. It'd be so fun. And if we're too far from you, or if you're like, hey, not a good fit, go find another one. But go to church. Go check it out. Go find their community. It's going to be powerful. Okay. So covered women's ministry. Should we talk about pageant stuff next?
Yeah. Girl, you have so many updates for pageant stuff.
So yeah, y'all, I was in a pageant.
Real quick. I really have to use that.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk pageant stuff.
Hello.
That sounds like fun.
Yes.
Y'all, I was in a pageant. I competed in Miss Utah for America Strong. My beautiful pageant husband, Ashton, was there to cheer me on. And also just truly grateful for, again, I feel like the theme of this episode is like friendships. It's a recap, but it's really friendships. Because I found that process, like, it was incredible, but it was very hard to do something like that without like your family involved, like that particular system. I think like if I was single in Utah and my family lived here, I think that would have looked really different. And so I was just really grateful for my friends, because you were going through this range of emotions. And it's spoiler alert, I'm in another pageant, but going through that particular pageant system, and that is my first pageant experience, that was like hard. It was really emotionally again, facing like some level of comparison. It was really reassuring at points, though, that like you're in this room of incredible, beautiful women, and you know that every single woman is, facing her own insecurities and things that she struggles with. And we were there to support each other. And so I think that was like really like beautiful. But after that, I wasn't entirely sure. Actually, no, excuse me. Before, I think I remember talking to you about it. And I was like, I'm not sure if I would do this again as a miss, because I just don't have, like, my friends are incredible. But like there were nights when I was like really in my thoughts and in my head. And I'm like, I really need, if not like my mom, then I really need like a husband or a partner to go through this with me. And like, during that experience,
Oh yeah, that was a car conversation.
I was like, that it happened at some point. I know Ashton knows me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I wasn't dating someone, but I was like seeing someone at the time. And that was kind of tough too, because I recognized in my heart I wanted to rely on him more emotionally in that, but we weren't together. And so there was a point too. This, I feel like this is going to be both pageant and then like what's going on in Kim's personal life. But during that time, all the things. But during that time, that particular individual, he bought not that there's many, there was only one, but he bought a ticket. And I was so excited because, but my friend, Jamie, spoiler alert, she won that pageant. One of the pieces of advice she gave me, she's like, just don't get so excited that him buying a ticket means like, well, I'm ready to commit to this thing or not or anything. And that was such solid advice because the day of the pageant, the people who needed to be there were there. All my closest friends, my girlfriends, your husband too, like all of these amazing people were there to cheer us on, which was amazing. And I also think speaks to the heart and intent of like the people who are there are going to be there. This guy, the person who I was like seeing, sort of, he wasn't. And I think it was like 30 minutes at the start of the pageant, I get a text from him and it's just like, good luck, and I didn't, maybe like my military mindset, blessed Air Force, like I could compartmentalize that. I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to deal with whatever that is right now. I have to compete in a pageant. And so I was so grateful for that though, because I could see if I wasn't more mentally resilient, that could have really upset me at the time to be like, I thought you were interested in me. We've been seeing each other pretty regularly, all this stuff. This was a guy too who like consistently was so proud that I was, challenging myself and doing all this pageant stuff. And he's like, you're putting yourself out there and it's so brave. And like, he had all the right words, but again, really grateful that if it's not meant for me, God has closed that door, closed that window, and we kind of ended that there. But the bottom line of like me sharing that was that it was such a pressing journey from all these different angles that I really wanted that emotional support. And that was just hard. However, so compete in this pageant, I get first runner up for the Miss category, which was incredible. I know. Woo-hoo! Yeah, thank you. It was amazing to be up there with all of these incredible women. All of them are my friends. If you're listening, you did phenomenally well. I'm so blessed by their friendships and the opportunity to get to know them. Truly, just the coolest women. And that was one of my main goals with doing the pageant was I wanted to make friends and kind of build my community in Utah. And then to be up there with Jamie, where we're like, holding hands face to face and being so comfortable in God's plan and his direction that when she won and I was like second place, I was solid. I was so thrilled and happy for her because she's an incredible person. I have no doubt that she's killing it right now. She's doing great. But I will say the hardest part, though, was the journey from leaving the stage, walking to you guys in the audience, because what I wasn't anticipating was the amount of people who stopped me on that trek. It's not a long walk. And the amount of people who stopped me, though, and just were like, they said, again, from a place of love and like just if you haven't watched a pageant, you get invested. Like you're introduced to these women and then you're invested in them, right? You're like picking your favorites and who you want to win and all this stuff. So it's a journey for those in the audience too. And I say that though, because as I was walking and people were stopping me, they're like, you were my favorite. You were supposed to win. You should have won. And again, not a long walk. And so it was consistently as I was just like, I'm trying to get to Ashton. Like, I'm just trying to get to that point. And that I wasn't expecting. And so mentally, I was ready to fully cheer on and support my friend because she's so deserving. But being stopped that many times with people with lots of different thoughts and opinions, I'm both so flattered that people would cheer me on in that capacity, especially virtual strangers. Yeah. And at the same time, really conflicted with the messaging that I'm like, I'm so proud of my friend. I'm here to cheer her on too. She's just as deserving, while also acknowledging that I'm just so grateful that people feel that passionately that they wanted to stop me and congratulate me. So yeah, it was a very heavy moment to balance both of those. And again, I'm just trying to get to my friends. And once I even got to you guys, still had people stopping me to tell me things. So it was, I wasn't anticipating that. And so that sat with me a bit. And then, oh, sorry, go.
Right. I think people, I mean, I know people don't realize how much work goes on behind the scenes. They don't see like the interviews that aren't on stage. They don't know like I don't know if the rubric is
Yeah,
the
like the
right
judging
word,
requirements.
but like
Yeah.
the rubric that the judges are basing everything off of. They're just like, oh my gosh, I love her. She's so gorgeous. I feel like she did amazing. So she
Yeah.
should have won, right? And we get in our own heads about it, really. But most people just don't realize. And then also, it is a competition. And so, competitive people very much are like, that person should win. You're up against everyone else on that stage. You should like, and it's like, yes, like by definition, it is a competition, but it's also so
Right.
much more than that. You're competing with these women. You went through, oh my gosh, how many months? It was like 5,
It was
6
a long,
months.
and I went in.
It was a really long
It
time.
was such a long time, and and also if you see me adjusting things, it's because I'm a one woman show over here, so mind your business. For those watching.
Yeah, an amazing one woman show.
I'm just like, why is she adjusting stuff? I'm like, because I need to. Yeah, so
yeah, it was Thanksgiving.
yeah, so
right?
I joined later than some of our girlfriends who were competing too, and it was long, and part of me was like wrestled with, oh, I wanted more time, and part of me like was like, actually maybe even less. Was that just right? I poured so much of myself into social media content, into practices, all this other stuff. I will say now that I'm competing in another one, I've kind of pulled back a little bit more and try to balance that, because there is something called a pageant hangover. And once you're done, that's why we're doing the podcast now. It is June. My pageant was like what, February, March? Like I haven't been on here because of the intensity of that pageant hangover. You just pour so much, like it's a marathon to a sprint, and when you're done with it, your body's just like whoosh, like
you went through the ringer for that.
And so
mentally, emotionally, physically.
And I'm doing, like, I have a pageant literally next month, and I'm way better. But I also took so much pressure off myself this go round. And I'm also, like, I'm working with my brother as a trainer and a nutrition coach now, too. But, so I'm leaping back and forth between thoughts. But after the pageant as well, there's this opportunity for feedback. And you're 100% correct. It's a competition. And I think I personally chose, I feel like I'm giving y'all the tea. I personally chose not to get, I know,
hot.
Personally chose not to do the feedback because I am Filipino and I grew up with a Filipino mom, and I'm highly critical of myself. And that is why I did so well as an Air Force officer for as long as I did. Is that I am probably blunt and not as nice to myself. I'm nicer to others, but I'm pretty quick to be like, hey, these are the things that you need to work on. And so, yeah, I was confident about like, hey, I was both confident and understanding like the areas I needed to work on, and that it is a pageant, and it's a pageant in Utah. So, but I also, for my mental health, was like, if it's something to do with my body, with having tattoos, with any of these things, I didn't want that to be the takeaway, because in 6 months' time, however long I was with the pageant, 6 to 9 months time, I was not going to lose such a drastic amount of weight in a healthy way where I would feel much better about it. And I was like, I also wholeheartedly believed that I wanted to show up on stage as myself, obviously in pageant glam, but as myself, because, and I talked about this on my social media with the swimsuit category, because I wanted people to be like, you deserve to show up in spaces. And I see that all the time, not just in Utah, but like moms and at the lake, at pools and stuff, they're constantly covered up. They're constantly doing this. And if that's how you feel comfortable, go on, sis. Like, that's fine. But I think the underlying issue is that women aren't doing it to, for UV protection. It's because they're like, if somebody sees this roll or this excess fat or this cellulite or stretch mark or something, then that like makes you less worthy. And for me, I was just like, no, we're showing up. And and yeah, like it was terrifying. And so I mean, I remember being backstage about to do some suit, and my friend Portia, who is also my roommate, she's incredible. By the way, she's a director. She's on the board of directors for a new pageant system, which is incredible too. Um,
I'm so excited.
She's oh my gosh, she's so cool. I love her so much. But she's my roommate, and we were talking about swimsuit, and the reframe that she helped me with going into that was, I'm looking at swimsuit as my most favorite part of the competition because I'm going to show up as my most confident self. And I just tried to approach it like that because I was so terrified and worried. And I'm like, if someone, like, I already pick apart my own body. If somebody out in the audience wants to do that too, more power to them. But at the end of the day, this body is still able to do so much and to do all of these other things. And it really was just this love letter to moms and women everywhere to just show up, to be at this in a swimsuit at the pool, to play with your kids. The memories are so much more than your stretch marks or cellulite or a number on a scale. And I was really proud of myself for that.
Yeah. Can I just say real quick, like, after doing the pageant, I got invited by Abby to go to a black tie formal event, and I did not have a black tie dress in my closet. I had my wedding dress, and that was pretty much it. And I went shopping with a couple of our friends who are not my size. They're a lot smaller, which they're gorgeous. I'm trying to be more confident in my own body, but we went to a store that normally I'm this size, maybe I'll be like a size above that ish. And so I went in fully expecting to try on dresses in both of those sizes and come out with something or feel pretty in something, and I needed to go up 3 or 4 sizes from what I would normally consider my size, and it was so disheartening. And I felt so embarrassed. And there was nobody else there except me and our friend. But I was like, this really sucks. And I went home and I cried. And then, I was talking to you, Kim, about it. And you're like, okay, let's go. We're going to go check out this store. And I was not excited. I was really nervous. I was excited to spend time with you.
You're like,
course,
I hate you, so why are we spending time together?
Like, I was dreading. I'm like, I already hate shopping for clothes. I hate shopping for dresses even more. And I'm just like, okay, we're just gonna go into this. I'm just gonna find a dress. I'm gonna go in with like this specific style. It's gonna hide my stomach or hide my arms best, whatever. And I pulled, I had a lot of dresses that had that style, and they were okay. And then Kim over here was like, hey girl, there's this fit and flare dress with like applique spaghetti straps on it, and I think you're gonna look fire. And I was like, I'll try it just for you because I love you. And lo and behold, it ended up being the dress I bought. I love it so much. And that experience, like shopping with someone who understands, because you and I are much more the same body shape than our other friends. And so I think we understand each other a little bit better. I don't know if that's the right word, but like in a different way.
Especially in the state of Utah, I had, when I first went shopping for pageant dresses, similar experience to you, where everything that was, and granted it was a sale, so it wasn't like their main stock, but everything looked so matronly, but matronly I would never put my mom in that. And it was so, I'm 35. I'm a single mom. Like, I deserve to feel beautiful and sexy and all these things. And I just kept looking at these styles and I'm like, this is hideous. And that was my very first pageant shopping experience. And this is like with a dress shop that's like a known sponsor of pageants. And that was also like this weird underlying fear where I'm like, I just don't fit Utah style standards. I am not a tall, leggy blonde. I have curves. I've got big boobs, like all of these things. And I'm like, but when you're in the correct dress, va-va-voom, like it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I was so shocked when I tried that dress on, and oh my gosh.
you look stunning.
Thanks
You
to
look
you.
so good. We tried a couple of them where I was like, can we,
Mhm.
I was just so grateful that you trusted me to put something on because I've been there. I've been there where I'm like, I do not want to put this on my body because I already feel bad enough that I don't feel beautiful. And you are
Yeah.
beautiful. It's a piece of fabric and it's meant to drape on your body in a certain way. And so I get passionate about it too because I just think that we fail women in certain areas. And I'm like your shape, my shape, all curvy girl shape. But like for me, when I see that, I'm like, it's an hourglass. It's stunning. Like, let's embrace that because there are women who aren't shaped like that who would kill to have that kind of like curvature to her body. And so, but again, if you're not with like the right people or the right setup, then you can feel less than, or you're like, I've got too much of a lower tummy. I've got too much, like this is too constricting here, or this is too much, like all this stuff. And I just appreciate your openness to trying things in a really vulnerable state in a dressing room. Holy cow, we need to talk about the psychology of women's dressing rooms. And right?
Ugh, right.
And just this idea too that like you're open to trying some different things that maybe you're like, I wouldn't normally pull this for myself because you tried on a couple different things. And when I'm here to gas you up, but you looked so good, like so gorgeous, so sexy, so hot, all of these things. And I just do think that it makes a difference when you have someone in there who's like, I can, and maybe thank you, mom. Like, as much as we critique Filipino moms for being critical, I know what works with my body and what looks really good and what does not. And so to have someone from like a dress shop try to force you into something that literally will not look good on you and will probably make you feel worse. Not only will it not look good on you, we have to go up like 4 sizes. You're like, my self-worth impression of that is like nil right now. Like, please don't do that. And here I was just like, when you see the shape of things, you're like, if you go up a size, it's because it's going to give you more room here for like, you can tailor it. It's more intentional and less of a number of like, hey, you're just so big. Like you have to be put into more fabric. It's more like, no. We're going to go up here for this reason because we're going to tailor it back in. We're going to widen this here. It's so much more strategic on how cloth lays on the body. But
which people don't talk about. Like the assumption is, oh, I need more fabric to cover up my body. Not, okay, we're going to go up a size so that it fits this part of your body better and actually flatters you.
Girl,
and accentuates the thing that you want to accentuate. And then we'll take it in other places so that we can accentuate those parts, or, not accentuate them if that's an insecurity.
Maybe that's going to be my pageant, like post-pageant, like life is if I start like a formal dress wear, especially whether you're curvy or not, like I would thrive in making women feel beautiful and being like, we're not paying attention to this number. I will not let you. Let's see how this fits on your body. Okay, we're not paying attention to numbers. We're going to make you feel beautiful.
Girl, I will be your first reviewer, and it's going to be freaking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stars.
I would love that because I think that, well, one, thank you for the review. But I just like having this pageant experience myself. It's stressful. And then you're about to be on stage and about to get critiqued. And the dress that I had on was from Punchy Blonde. It's a boutique through Texas. I felt so beautiful. I love that dress.
You looked
Thank
so
you.
gorgeous.
It was so fun. And again, I get more self-conscious about my arms and certain things showing, and I'm quite busty. So there's things, but I just felt so beautiful. But again, this was not a dress from Utah. This was a dress from Texas. And I really do think it makes a difference. Like, you need to view women's bodies in a different way. And coming from a state where there's so much plastic surgery per capita and beauty standards are different, like, it can make you feel some kind of way. And I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason why God has me here and competing in pageants, is to really shake up that dynamic, because I'm like, women should feel beautiful, and I'm pretty passionate about that.
You are correct. Women should feel
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah, regardless of, I don't know, the measurements or the
Yeah,
scale.
100%. I hold on one second. Okay. All right, here we go.
Ooh, yes, I can put it on my
So yeah, it was like this incredible pageant experience all around. Love feeling like beautiful and confident. I will say too, like, I talked a little bit about the pageant hangover, but after the pageant, I felt like I could walk on air. Like, I loved the pageant experience so much, and I wish every woman could compete. And it definitely opened up my eyes. If you're going through like the Miss America system too, just the scholarship opportunities, definitely consider for your young women. Um, yeah, because I mean, like, there's so much good that comes out of pageantry. I think there's so much negativity that people focus on. But I created such amazing friendships. There's phenomenal networking. You get to do such cool opportunities. Women get to work on their, stage presence, public speaking, like really setting themselves up for success in the future. And I think that's like so important. Um, so I can't, I felt so beautiful and so confident. And I'm so excited that I'm going to another one, because I feel like I'm going through not like a lull, but I've had some dips, not in my confidence per se, but just like life throwing me some curveballs where my expectations are not quite meeting the reality. And pageants are addicting. They're like tattoos. They're just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. But immediately after that pageant, I had the opportunity to talk and connect with a director and some queens from a different pageant system, and that was continental worldwide. And they were like, hey, would you want to compete as Miss Philippines? And as much as I loved my pageant experience the first time, the title of Miss Philippines for any pageant system is huge for me. And I'm so much more connected to that than being Miss Willard Bay, just because I am Filipino and I come from the Philippines, and it's like, it's a big deal. And whoop, there we go. And so I'm I'm so excited, but again, I've taken so much pressure off of myself to not have to perform. You are seeing some social media content, but before, I was like whipping out podcasts left and right. I've just been trying to be like, to enjoy the experience, and my kids are here, and I get to have my mom and my brother will be there, and we'll see if like some of my girlfriends can come, and it's just different, and it's also just completely different pageant experience altogether. And so that's a cool thing about pageantry, is every system is vastly different. So if you don't like, and you're like, hey, I want to be in a pageant, and you're not feeling one of them, go try another pageant system. Every single pageant is different. I've had a great experience so far with my first pageant. They're great, fantastic directors. I'm super excited for Portia's new pageant system.
I was gonna say there's a brand new one about
Yeah,
to
it's
start.
a national pageant system. It's really based on like sisterhood and competing together. Not it's basically sisterhood over competition. And it's more of like a women's retreat. It is a pageant. But there's so many things and dynamics, as I've talked with that pageant, those pageant directors. It's a missus. So I'm not married, so I'm not competing in that one. But as I've gotten the opportunity to like talk to those directors and learn more about that pageant, y'all, it's very exciting. It's a very cool pageant system. Um, or if you are a miss or a missus and want to compete with different title holders in continental worldwide, I've really enjoyed my experience so far with this too. So I'm really excited. And there's a couple different strategies I'm trying with this. It is a cool aspect of pageantry, is you do network pretty aggressively. So I'm friends with pageant girls all over the world now, and I'm kind of, yeah,
Amazing.
it's so fun. And I think too that, like, again, we were talking about, as you get older, making friends is harder, and pageantry just like quickly makes friends, and you also are able to discern pretty quickly, like, this person is somebody I want to build a friendship with, versus like, maybe not her, like that might not be the best fit. um but you make some really cool bonds and connections, and I think that's really special. So I can't speak of pageants highly enough. Like, I wish every woman could compete in one, because you just feel so beautiful. They're expensive. It's an expensive sport, but but you just feel so beautiful and confident, and I think it's a space in which women really deserve to shine. And so I love the opportunity to. Famous last words. I feel like this is going to be my last one for a while, because they are more expensive. But I could see myself, if I ever get married again, competing in a misses, and I think that would be really, really fun.
I think that would be amazing. And, I feel like you're going to succeed in no matter what you do because you really are just so amazing
Thanks, friend.
and you're so passionate. And oh my gosh, you have such a drive for community. And I know we kind of talked about that earlier, and like, you're very extroverted when it comes to like making friendships. Like, hey, we're going to be friends now. Like, but that's so, it's so needed, especially in today. Um, I'm I've been messaging this mill spouse who just got here, and I was telling her, like, you really need to be intentional about finding friends. I will be your friend. I want to be your friend. And, I have this great Bible study for military affiliated women if you want to join
Right.
it. She's like, actually, yeah. And she was talking about how, like, everyone just kind of sticks in their own
Hmm.
bubble. Like, not really being like unfriendly, but like not intentionally being
Yeah.
friendly. And I was like, you really need people that are gonna like go out there and like put themselves out there, like, hey, I want a
Yeah.
community because people just don't do that
No, they don't.
anymore, or like not many people do.
Yeah, through the military, especially, like, you are. I mean, you don't have to, but I will say, from all of my military experiences, if you don't, like, it is a very isolating experience, and that it's not fun. And these are people who get like what you're going through, and I will also say too, I feel like Hill, almost our entire friendship circle doesn't necessarily live on base, so that helps. But I've lived on base before and just had beautiful, beautiful community. I don't get that vibe from where we're stationed at right now. I've had other bases where it's just, there's much more community. It's much more cohesive. Granted, I also came from the special operations community, so that also adds another layer of like cohesiveness and friendship. But yeah, they're not as social, and it's kind of a bummer. And the base itself, I'm sorry if someone's listening from Hill, but like, it's just, it's a different vibe than other places I've
Yeah.
been stationed at, and it's not necessarily good or bad. But I also think that sometimes other bases, the way that they're structured, um, maybe it's more walkable, it's easier to access certain things. I'm not sure if that's the reason why, but making community was like a lot easier. I do feel like the way housing is on base is like, it's like a long line.
It's
Yeah, it's like kind of
weird.
like on the edge.
Yeah.
And so maybe that doesn't help too. But I've seen, and it's also been difficult. Like, it wasn't just our old church. I was trying to like work on some things with like religious affairs on base. And granted, I'm a contractor. I know I'm not active duty anymore, but I was trying to work with them, and I kind of felt like I was getting not necessarily like a stiff arm, but it was a lot harder to get stuff working on that too. And I was just like, so this place is, bottom line is, you do have to be so intentional. You got to reach out. You got to make friendships. You got to like show up for people and see what's the best way to support them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm hoping to have this done by an hour and a half. So
Got
we're
10 more
doing so
minutes.
great. We're so good at this.
We're so professional.
But okay, so my thought process though is, I want to share about some of my singleness updates, because these stories are hilarious, and I feel like God is, I don't, the narrative I'm telling myself is that God is like, hey, you're single with intent in this season, and there's so much beauty in that, which I'll explain that in a second. But I also feel like God is intentionally like intercepting certain things where I'm like, dang, you didn't have to do that so aggressively. I was like, okay. So no. That's why it has to be aggressive. We all know this about myself. It's just, but some of them I'm like they have to be so specific because then kind of know it's like a God thing, which is hilarious and ironic, but also at the same time I'm just like, dang. One of them was there's a matchmaking service. I forgot. I think there was something else that happened right before it too, but I can't remember. I'm sure I'll think of it as I'm explaining it. But there's a matchmaking service. So I've never worked with a matchmaking service before, and this was a recent thing that occurred. By the way, it's a hilarious yet awful story. So a few months ago, they reached out to me on LinkedIn of all places, and they're like, hey, we have some clients that we think would be a great fit for you. And I'm thinking this is like Prince of West Africa scam kind of thing. And I'm like, get away. And I was just like, and they're like, no, 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 we're a real thing. So I started doing some research. It's a legit matchmaking service. The hilarity of it, though, is that the verbiage that they use is like, we have some complimentary matches for you. Let's be so very honest about this. Like, no, you have a client paying you and you're like headhunting on places trying to find people that are single and might be a good fit, right? At first, I was just like, all right, whatever. They somehow got my phone number. I don't remember if I gave it to them or not. I don't think I did. So it might be like on my LinkedIn under some like setting. And I'm just like, oh, that's weird. But they were like texting me and they're like, hey, we think that you'd be a great fit for these clients. And I'm like, I hit a point where I'm like, clearly I'm strugs to funk trying to find someone. So maybe this would be a good course of action to take. So I reached out to them and I call them because, by the way, I've been asking for information. I'm like, should I email you? Can we text? What's the best way? I just want some more information on it. I don't want to waste your time, but at the same time, like, we have to exchange some more information to see if this is even, I don't know. I've never used this kind of thing before or consented to being like, hey, you might be a match for our clients. And I'm like, all right. So she's like, no, just call. Just call. I'm available during this time. And I'm just like, this is weird. But I'm like, cool. So I call her and leave a voicemail. I do not hear from this woman for weeks. They have been actively pursuing me for months, and I don't hear from her for weeks. And I was like, all right, whatever. I get a call going to Memorial Day weekend. And again, a holiday weekend. And she's just like, hey, my phone was broken. I finally got a new one. I finally just listened to your voicemail. I'm so sorry. Can we talk? And I'm like, sure. I'm going to be on the road. I picked up my kids. We were driving back up to Utah on this road trip. I'm like, yeah, I'll be on the road traveling, but that's fine. So I'm between Arizona and Utah, I think, at this point, and we host this phone call. It's minutes, not even like a chunk of time. It's like minutes long. Right into the conversation, she goes, oh, you have children? And I'm like, yes, I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. And she's like, oh, the person that my client, he won't date women with children. And it's not, here's the thing. People are allowed to have their preferences, but the thing that made me mad is that I'm like, your staff, your agency, whatever you are, have been pursuing me for weeks. Nothing on my social media hides my kids. Like, I might not necessarily show their faces all the time, but I'm pretty open that I'm a mom. I've got 2 young children. Like, you can even see it on my LinkedIn. So I'm like, you've done.
Isn't it in your bio
Yes.
too? Like your bio
Everything
says
is
mom.
open. And so I was pissed. I'm like, why have you been calling me for weeks? And then I kept thinking, if you're promising me these complimentary matches or whatever, why wouldn't you have a conversation with me? Because if you're such a successful matchmaking company, wouldn't you want to better understand who I am to see if I line up with like a future client or other clients that come in? And also in these conversations, they had been saying, hey, you're a fit for clients, like plural. And I was like, okay, cool. No, it was a massive waste of time. And I'm not trying to knock matchmaking services for anyone else. Maybe not this matchmaking service. That was, yes, and I'd 100% call you out for your unprofessionalism because that was insane. I'm like, you're texting me, you're pursuing me, and then it turns into a 2-minute phone call. After I've been asking for more information, I could save us. If you had texted me back, we could have saved. It was literally that question. Hey, do you have children? Ma'am, you're the one who reached out to me. Everything says that I'm a mom. Oh my gosh, it was so annoying. And so if you've hired them, also understand they're literally not doing their research. So that was wild.
Didn't you say like I'm gonna be driving with my kids, like I'm picking up my
Yes.
kids, and she still was like, "Oh, you have kids," like
I'm
mid phone
pretty
call?
confident that I expressed that. Or if I didn't, I said we. Like I was
That
using a we and saying like, oh, it was also US men's not it was the like international hockey thing. So I said, we are watching this, we're blah 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 blah, we're doing blah 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 blah. Um so I'm pretty sure I did. I did have a thought
Yeah.
at one point, like it was like the night before where I was so tempted to text her, be like, you know I'm a mom, right? Like it was just this weird feeling
Mhm.
where I'm like, I feel like I should clarify before we jump in because I don't know why. Like nothing she did made me feel like I should have clarified it. I think it was just my own protective nature of like, we might need to clarify this before I waste my time. But also on a side note, well, I'm going to say like men are allowed to have their preferences. People are allowed to have their preferences.
Yeah.
It's also a point where dating in my 30s, the likelihood that your partner is divorced, has kids, again, has been previously married, like all those things are higher numbers. So if you're looking for someone who doesn't, it usually tells me, and maybe this is an unfair assessment, but it usually tells me that that man is likely looking for someone in their early 20s. And I'm like, I'm not what he's looking for then, and that's okay. But don't seek me out. Like that's weird. It was like a weird headhunting experience to only be told like
Mm.
I'm being dramatic.
Either that or like they don't realize like this is their reality for most women in their like 30s, 40s that are like
Yeah.
single. Is that most likely they've been married
Yeah.
before or they have kids or both.
Or maybe they do
And
realize that and that's why they hired the service is because they're trying to find this unicorn. When in reality, I really think that they're trying to find someone in their early 20s. Like, I think that's really what it comes
yeah.
down to. Not trying to be cynical, but that's the pattern of behavior that I've seen is when a guy's like, oh, I'm wanting this. They're like, oh, I can't find it. And again, people are allowed to have their preferences, but I'm like, I think in reality, you're looking for a 20-year-old. Like, that's what you want.
Mhm.
And that's why you see these age gaps. But yeah,
Yep.
there's that.
Do you think that turned you off of matchmaking
Oh my
services?
God.
Like, would you ever, like go hire one, like as like the primary client? Not this one, but like a different one that maybe we do a little bit more research into.
I don't know. Not that,
Yeah.
like, I think when I was reaching out to them, I was at this really specific point where I was warming up to this idea of using a matchmaking service. And so to kind of have this, like, negative experience really turned me, I was already, like, so on it. And so to have this negative experience, I'm like, actually, I really don't. And part of me is I think a romantic in which I'm like, Kim, what if you go pick up rock climbing and go to a rock climbing gym? What if you like get yourself out into the community more? You might be able to find somebody organically. Also, I already told you, I got all these sisters in Christ praying that I'm going to pick up a hockey player or an F1 Formula driver. So who knows what's going to happen? I will say though, I think that there's where I live in Utah and how challenging dating apps for everyone nationally, internationally can be. It's literally been like featured in the Atlantic, New York Times. Like dating is not going well for folks. I just think that I need to put myself out there more intentionally and maybe try some more hobbies before I also, this is terrible. I've just talked about prayer and being a good godly woman and I'm like, let me talk about my vanity. But I kept thinking too, again, I had asked them clarifying questions and they're like, let's just talk on the phone. And I'm like, this is some baloney. I was a little bit worried that they were going to try to pair me with significantly older men. And one of the things that God has kind of put on my heart, and it's been a whole journey. So I really hope that this is like a thing that happens because I was totally okay with having two kids. And then In Korea, God's like, I want you to open your heart to having more children. So now my heart is open. And I think that with older men, like, I feel like they're tired and they don't necessarily want to have more babies. Or maybe they do, but I really want to have a partner who's like wanting to run around with the kids with me and do stuff with me and the kids. And I feel like that's not what older men are looking for. And so I was like trying to gauge that too. Like, are your clients like older men, like significantly older? Um, yeah, bottom line though, I'm not sure. Right now I would say no. I think part of me really wants to try to meet someone organically. Um, and I also think that I don't know. I've been like trying to shift my expectations around, not settling, but before I used to be like, I want him to be like my immediate age range. And now I'm like, I just said I don't want to date older dudes. So the other course of action is to go like slightly younger. That's subjective. But like, so younger. And I've just been seeing a lot of like good feedback from people where because one of the challenges that I keep running into, and I know I'm looking at the time, but one of the challenges that I keep running into is that, you know, I'm like goals driven, motivated girl. I don't think we talked about this on the podcast before. A very attractive man who I was trying to see last year literally told me, he's like, you're so cool and great. However, you're so goals driven that I just don't think that we're a good match. And I was like, what? And he's like, I literally have no goals.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and sip my
You're gonna
drink.
sip your water. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, I think I might have to kind of be more open to other types of men and like those who are single because I am goals driven. And so before I was trying to just keep it in like this really specific window and I was having the worst time. And so I feel like in going slightly younger, keep going, younger, they're at a point where they're still excited about making goals and they have like certain career aspirations. And I feel like we're better aligned that way, what I've been experiencing. But again, I kind of took a pause from dating and I'm not on apps and I'm after the kids, like I have my kids for the summer, so I'm not dating right now. But we'll see. We'll see what the rest of 2025 brings. 'Cause I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, I mean, there's a rock climbing
I
gym
know. There
here in
is.
Ogden.
And actually,
You can
I
check it
want to
out.
take my kids there so that they can try it with me. But who knows? Like, I keep trying to think of like how to put myself out there, how to go try stuff.
Yeah. Art classes. We could do, I don't know. I'd be willing to go with you. I'd be willing to go like manhunting with you. I have mine, but I'm a be a girl's girl. I'm
She's
gonna help
gonna
you
wing
out if you want
woman.
it.
She's gonna wing woman, which is good because
Wing
I
woman.
think too sometimes I'm like, what's up with my discernment? Why are these guys such trash? And I keep like trying to do better, and I'm like, that's not working. Oh my gosh! Sorry, just a couple, just a smidge more. We just had, you heard this. So when I say this, like we're not being dramatic. I just had a conversation with one of my exes and we're good. We're solid. Like he and I are not getting back together again. I had a moment and Ashton hears all the updates as things are happening in real time. I'm like, why aren't we together? my my exes will fix that with the quickness. Like when I say the irony of God is that like God's like, let me. This is why. Like he just like, boom, 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 just like drops it in.
Like, let me remind you.
Oh my gosh, like immediately. I'm like, oh, that's that great. This is why we're not together. But one of the reasons too recently is that he's on apps. This one of these exes of mine, totally good with. Like he's doing his thing. I'm not on apps, but like please find your person. I do truly wish that for the people I've been in relationships with that they find their person. I think that'd be amazing. She, however, so she and I are pretty similar in that like we've been trying to find our person for 5 to 6 years. She's a single mom. I think we're close in age. She might be older than me. I don't know. The way that he talked about this woman, I don't even want to put this on the podcast, the phrasing. It's abhorrent. I was
getting mad just listening to you talk about it. And like I'm like, you know, I've never talked to the guy, I've never talked to this girl, but I was getting
so for some background, she had a higher like body count. So she had numerous sexual partners. Then he, again, back to preferences that he was really comfortable with. And I'm like, people are allowed to have their preferences. The thing that makes me mad, though, is when you are cultivating relationship dynamics with someone and you're building trust and vulnerability, if you ask someone that question, and for awareness, the thing that I've learned, and I'm a Christian, I take the covenant of God with sharing your body and your accessibility so seriously. I am not judging people on that, though. People approach that in so many different ways for a lot of different reasons. And if you are a Christian struggling with that, like, God sees you and God is going to meet you where you're at. Like, give it to God. That's my Jesus note for the moment. But she had a higher count than him, and then he preferred, and he's sharing this with me. So I'm processing why he's even sharing this with me, because I think he wants like validation that what he's about to do is like, okay, oh no, I was not about to let that happen. He's uses this disparaging comment against her, and I'm sitting with this and he's talking, and I was like, what? And he wants to end things after he's built like this rapport with her, after he's built trust and vulnerability and communication. And I'm like, this sucks. And I tell him, I'm like, please be kind to her when letting her down, because she probably sees this. And he's like, well, we've had these great conversations and we have similar goals and vision and all this other stuff. And I'm like, but here's your deal breaker. And he's like, well, I wasn't going to bring it up like on the first conversation. That'd be like weird. And I'm like, yeah, but instead what you've done is made her believe that you have a relationship together or about to do something. I don't know. And now this is the thing in which she can't change any of this. She can't go back in time and fix it. And you're essentially weaponizing her honesty with you. And I'm like, that's so icky. So we're going back and forth a bit.
Yeah.
And I just straight up told him at one point, I'm like, nah, like he's like trying to get this validation from it, right? And I'm like, I'm not letting him have it. And I was like, no, it's just dickish behavior. And I will say too, like selfishly from my point, I was so embarrassed that like we were in this relationship before, because I think, as you know, and I've shared on the podcast, the top thing I look for in partners is that they're kind. And I'm like, because he and I got into a fight about that. He had the audacity to say, like, I just don't think you understand the definition of kindness. And with the quickness, I was like, I know what kindness means. And that's when I think it led into, I just think that you have some dickish behaviors. And he's like, oh, because this. And I'm like, no, because you want to have the last word, because you want to shame her so that you can feel better about like cutting ties or whatever. Like, no, your behaviors are terrible. And I didn't say this to him, but I was just so embarrassed that I was tied to him at all. And again, God saving me from terrible people, but that's what it's like out in these streets, y'all. And I'm just giving my life to God right now, and he's going to send me my husband, and I will do the intentional work of going to the rock climbing gym. but I am like trying. So, that's it. Ashton, I know we went a little over time. Thank you for recapping with me. You're such a gem. I love you so much.
Course, anytime. I love this so much, and it's just like bonus Kim time. So I'm already like, yes, I'm gonna talk to Kim. Oh my
We need to do this more frequently. Like every few months, we're like, recap episode. Ashton's coming back to co-host.
Girl,
I love this. This was so much fun. Thank you for your time today. I love you so much. You're such a beautiful light in my life. I will see you soon. Bye, girl.
Are we doing red lights?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
I was like paying attention to the time, and I was like, we gotta go. Let's do that.
Okay. Do you want to recap what that is real quick? And I'll think of mine.
No, you're fine. Fast. Take your time. So red lights and green lights. Green lights are things that you advocate for. Red lights are like no-goes. I don't like this right now in my life. And we've also been doing what's saving your life right now. And so we'll package this all up together.
Okay. Red lights, bugs. Bugs in the summer. Ooh, I know we already talked about this at the very beginning of the podcast, but it is still alive and strong. No, thank you. No, thank you. Go away. Green lights, things I'm advocating for. I'm gonna come out and say it. Therapy. Take advantage of it if you can. If you can afford it, if your insurance will pay for it. Even if you're like, I don't really know, I think I just want to like improve myself in this area. Like, just do it. It's so good and so worth it. Um, and what's saving my life right now? Well, number one, my husband.
I
I love my
yeah.
husband.
Hold on one second. I just hit ignore. Why is it not listening? I hit the things and it just doesn't listen to me. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. This is a trial of
This
Riverside.
is it's do not disturb is on. It's like, oh wait, let's just try to
Weird.
sorry, keep going.
You're good. He came to our Pentecost party and he was very much out of his comfort zone, but he did it and he had a good time. I was so proud of him. So he does that for me, which I really appreciate. Um, Fury, of course, my kitty cat, and God. Okay, whenever I say Fury, my Siri activates.
Interesting.
It's been driving me nuts. Anyways, she has just been so lovey lately, and it's I very much have needed it. And lastly, I have been trying to be more active in the kitchen, cooking, baking, especially being on the no amylose diet that I'm on right now, which is grain-free. So like baking is difficult. But it's a lot of almond flour, coconut flour, tapioca starch. And so experimenting with those, I'm like getting a bunch of recipes that I'm interested in trying, and I'm making a cookbook for myself. So, and then I made like a gluten-free cheesecake for the first time ever, and it got demolished at the party, which I was like, my goodness, like if you really want to boost my ego, like eat all my food.
It was so tasty. We loved it. It was great too because like my daughter, for those listening, she's on her, she's allergic to like legitimately allergic to certain things, and so it's really awesome to have a friendship circle that is like also interested in these things too, because then it's a lot easier to be. I mean, I will say before Evelyn's things, I obviously wanted to cater to like my friends and make sure that they could eat and enjoy things, but it's hard as a parent to be like finding wheat and soy and everything, especially like soy lecithin and like chocolate, and trying to find things that like a little kid, little kids love stuff like that. And so finding alternatives is hard. So having friends that are also like making cookbooks and trying to do things, I think is really fun.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my three things.
Awesome. Love you.
I love you.
I also want to green light therapy and just taking care of yourself. I've been doing a lot of doctor's appointments recently, and I started up therapy a few weeks ago. And it's been really good. One of the things my therapist said when I was struggling with something, which was kind of funny, but I loved it, was approaching certain things like I was in a pageant and just going in with confidence and seeing the opportunities from certain things and really enjoying and pressing, like extracting from the moment all that I could. And because it helped. I was struggling with some of like, just like work things and being away from my kids and life things, and life gets hard. And so I think reframing some of that really helped. So just taking care of yourself too. It's exhausting to go to a bunch of doctor's appointments or the dentist or knock things out. But it's just like, as I get older, it's necessary for your health and you want to be proactive. So taking the time to make sure that you're in good health is good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, red light, I'm trying to think.
Yes, tell me.
I think the red light right now is maybe my view on dating. I've like really been struggling with that a bit because I've been trying to be more open, like we just talked about. I've been trying to be more open to like, okay, like who are you going to go out with? And I'm not dating right now, but I know after this summer, I'm hoping that I'm like open-minded to it and I'm not going in with a spirit of fear where I'm like, okay, I don't want to be vulnerable with someone again, or to potentially like get excited about someone and then to be disappointed. And then I think sometimes I get overwhelmed with this idea of like competing factors of like, well, glorify God more, Kim. Like you're getting too much into your singleness. You're too worried about this or this. And I think that God sees all of that, and he's just like, you've got to go easier on yourself with how much you put on your like mental health and your heart and all of this. But yeah, I think like dating is like a sore spot for me. I feel like everything else in my life is like good, like there's stressful, overwhelming parts, but like like, I don't know. I'm just like, dang, dating is like it's a sore spot in my life. So I think that's like my red flag or my red light. Red flags too. The thing that's saving my life right now, girl, we're almost at 2 hours. I live in a bed of lies. But the thing that's saving my life right now, I think, are my kids. I really love having them here. It feels good and normal. I've really appreciated the flexibility for my job to like, not have to I'm able to work from home for a couple days of the week, which has been really great because it was weighing pretty heavily on me that they would be at daycare and I'd be at work and most of the summer would be that. Whereas I'm like, I don't get to see them that often. And so I'm really grateful for that. They bring me so much joy. We've just been enjoying Utah and beaches and hiking. Then we just came back from this huge national parks trip and I'm really grateful for that.
They're so
My
fun.
kids are a hoot.
They're so funny.
They're the sweetest and I love it. It's hard, but it's good. And I have a beautiful life because of them.
That was such a good answer.
Thanks.
I'm in awe of you.
I'm just really enjoying that. And I'm trying to make sure that I enjoy the moment versus letting something like my red light, my red flag, my red light get in the way of like kind of taking away from it because it does feel like I think in my mental health and I think where the enemy stirs the pot a bit is that area because I feel insecure or like some low self-esteem sometimes with that and I'm like no, I'm just going to enjoy the moment and I'm going to enjoy and experience the now and worry about that later. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. But thank you for being on my podcast with me. This was so fun.
Thank you for having me. I had the best time. This was an amazing start to my day. This is exactly what I needed.
I'm like, we're going to do my poor podcast listeners are like, this recap is 2 hours long. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I've been gone for months. I feel like this is good for being gone for months.
I think so too. I think so. And we talked a lot. We talked a lot about a lot of different things, really important things. The time was needed. The time was allocated
appropriately.
Correctly. Appropriately.
All right. I love you so much, girl. I will talk to you soon.
I love you too. Bye.